Hello and welcome to episode 232. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. I hope you're doing amazing. Listen, if you're not, it's completely okay. And I just want to remind you that if you need to take a knee, if you need a rest, please do so. We need to take care of each other and you need to take care of yourself just as much as I need to take care of myself to be here, show up for you, and for you to show up for others, for you to show up for your family, for the people around you, your friends. So if you get anything out of this episode today, is to remind you to stay in the fight. Listen, life is happening in the background, in the military, outside of the military, with kids, without kids, with a husband, without a husband, with friends. Life is going to happen. And that there's people out here ready and willing to support you if needed. All right. I want to talk today about building a professional network outside of the military. Regardless of how much time you have left in the military, or if you're getting out or not getting out in the next 3 years, I want you to consider this. I want you to start thinking about the professional network that you have outside of the military, not just in the military, because listen, I get it. I was sucked in my day-to-day, all the hours, all the goals that I had, the mission that needed to be accomplished. But if there's one thing that I learned, and I continue to see this in the military community now, is that we forget that we are going to get out one day. And the unfortunate part of this is that sometimes it's with a timeline that is given to us, meaning something happened medically, administratively, and now it's our time to go, time to move on. Family happens, right? And so I want you to really take a moment today to focus on how you can begin to build your network, your professional network outside of the military. And one of the things that I love to do, and I get a lot of knowledge and wisdom from, is listening to podcasts, of course. This is why I have my own podcast. But one of the things that stood out to me, and this was based on a conversation that Kyle Fussman had on a podcast, and he talked about building a community and how our actions and our results are based off the people that we hang out with, like our immediate 5 close friends or our immediate group of people that we hang out. That's how we continue to show up. That's how we continue to stay engaged, continue to create those results. I'm like, oh, this is perfect timing. It got me thinking, how would my military transition into the civilian sector have changed if I would have had more professional mentors, professional entrepreneurs, professional women that were outside of the military doing things and I could have had access to? How much of my success, also timeline, would have been impacted because of that resource, because of that mentorship? And so today I want to share with you 3 advantages of having a professional network outside of the military, meaning that you're not only relying on your military community. And I get it. Yes, I love our military community. It is key. We have a group where we feel that we belong and where we have this camaraderie. I get it. Yes. But also as you, as a mom, as a wife, as a woman outside of the military, maybe you want to be a teacher when you get out. Do you have other women teachers that you can connect with or are connected with now and say, hey, I would love to get your insight on what that looks like now? Do you have other professionals that are in that profession that you can contact today and ask a question? If the answer is no, then this episode is for you. And I want you to keep in mind that it doesn't matter when you think you have this timeline or when your time is going to be when you get out of the military. I want to offer you to just take a moment today and ask yourself, who are the first 5 people that you can contact that are not in the military and that are going to help you to be successful when you get out, or to help mentor you as you are getting out of the military? And if you're somebody that you're already in the transition and you're like, oh my gosh, I have no one, or I have one person and not sure if I can contact him or her because, their schedule, or haven't contacted them in a minute, I want you to take advantage of the network that is out there for you. Because listen, people want to help. people want to give back and especially serve the military community. So I don't want you to be shy. I don't want you to think that they don't want to help you. I want you to be open to being vulnerable. Because here's the thing. Here's one of the challenges that happened for me when I was getting out. I didn't want to ask for help. I was, one, stubborn. I'm like, I got this. I have a master's degree. Who doesn't want me to work for them, right? Who doesn't want this high performing officer working for them? Like, seriously, that was my way of thinking, my mentality. And I'm like, I don't need any help. I got this. I'll make my own resume. I know how to communicate for an interview. I got this. And so I needed help. But that was one of the challenges that I had. And I don't want you to go through the same thing I went through, or even add other clients where they're struggling and they're like, listen, okay, I definitely need the help now. I'm 3 weeks out, or I transitioned out a year ago, and now here I am, still stuck. And so I want you to be open to networking, building those relationships now, even if you're going to get out in 15 years, even if you think you're going to get out in the next 10 years, things change, life happens. And so I want to offer you today to think about these 3 things. The first reason, or the advantage, is that you will be informed. The second one is that you will stay connected. And 3, it's going to help you build confidence. So the first one, you're going to stay informed, meaning you are going to have someone that will possibly even mentor you and provide you with real-time information of what's happening in that field, in that industry, within that job role. Someone that will possibly hold your hand and say, Wendi, this is what you need to know. And here are some tips. Here are some recommendations. Here's my advice. So now you have someone that is willing to not only walk you through what's happening real time in that industry, in that profession, but is also willing to give you tips and possibly even resources. And that, my friend, is the win. You want that. You want to be equipped as much as possible, because when the time comes, most of the time you're going to have to be dealing with how you handle your emotion, because it's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. Like, you're excited to get out, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss it. And you're excited again, and they're like, oh, I'm going to miss this. And then you're excited again, and you're like, what if I fail? You're excited again, all the freedom to come. But then you're like, okay, what's next? Am I really going to fulfill my career, my goal, my ambition, and continue to stay driven? And so again, when you're actually transitioning, you're constantly just focused on the roller coaster of emotions and getting by on everything that comes at you from work, from you being active, from your family, and from your future, right? So you're constantly like, oh, here I am, here's the gap, and here's where I'm going. And so it's a cycle, and it's like a roller coaster. So you're not going to want to network. And trust me, that's what happened to me. I did not want to network. I didn't want to tell anyone that I was not prepared, because I wasn't prepared. Like, I felt shame. And so I don't want this for you. And so that's number 1, right? You'll be informed. Number 2, stay connected. You won't feel as if you're alone. You're going to have people in your circle, and now you're going to feel like you belong with that group versus just being an outsider, right? So you'll have someone or others to help you feel as if you are now a part of that community too. They might invite you to events. They might invite you to other conversations. And that's the key here. We want to be able to connect with other humans that are doing the things that we want to do, possibly in the next 5 years, in the next 3 years, in the next 6 months, whatever it may be. So I want to encourage you to connect so that you are now feeling connected, right? It makes sense. And then number 3, you build confidence, because now you're like, okay, now I know this. Your brain is telling you that you are now knowledgeable of something. And when you're knowledgeable of something, then you feel empowered or determined or even confident. So then you do what? You take action. And when you take action, you get a result. It may be the result that you want, or it may not be, but you can at least adjust and you keep going, right? And so it helps you. The advantage is that it will provide you with building confidence. And that's sometimes all that we need, is when we are doing something that we have no idea what it will look like or what it's going to result in. All you need sometimes is just a little push and a little bit of progress to help you boost that confidence, to help you boost your self-confidence. And so my takeaway and what I want you to do today after this episode, I want you to connect either through a text message, through a phone call, through an email, through a LinkedIn connection. I mean, whatever works best for you. If you're like an introvert, you're like, okay, I really don't feel like doing small talk and this is not my thing. It's because you are also feeling vulnerable. Let's face it. You don't want to feel like you're asking for help. That's not something that you want to do, right? You don't want to go into that negative emotion. And I get it. Listen, we all go through that. But I want you to at least have an open mind on getting started. Again, whichever form works best for you. A text message for all my introverts are like, hey, I'm just going to text and let it be, or send an email and let it be. That's fine. Start there. Ask another veteran that got out. Literally, it could be another veteran that transitioned 5 years ago. And you're like, I haven't talked to this one person. I've yet to talk to Wendi after she left military 5 years ago. I'm sure Wendi is going to be excited to share with you all of her wins, all of the things that she struggled with so that it can help you. And then you take some of those learning lessons and apply it to your transition. And here's another thing, or kind of like the last thing that I want to leave you with. If you're overthinking it, or if you're not sure that this is something that you need to do, don't overthink it. I don't want you to overthink this networking experience, which, by the way, I have a video, link it in the show notes, that I posted on LinkedIn a couple months back now, where I talk about it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be overcomplicated. It just needs to be simple. You can start with this one question, and that is, how did you get into this role? That's it. Like, that's one question. You could ask me that question if you want to. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message and ask me, how did you get to this role? How did you get into what you're doing now? You simply just have to ask that question. It's that simple. You don't have to be ready to answer any questions. You don't have to tell them why you want to leave the military, why you're not sure if you're going to leave the military. Let them do the talking. Let them tell you about their experience. That's all you need. Sometimes you just need to listen. And so I want to encourage you, and I want to help you start building your professional network, because listen, it's key when you're getting out. It's going to be key to introducing you to other people that have gone through what you've gone through, to other opportunities. And this is something that you want to take full advantage of, because listen, time is super valuable, and this is going to help you save time. And it's going to help you. Maybe the opportunity that you never considered. You're like, oh, I had no idea that was something that we could do outside of the military. So again, I want to encourage you to start building a professional network and do it as soon as you can. And that may be today. So again, if there's anything that you're like, I really don't feel sure, or if, you're like, I don't know where to begin, send me a connection on LinkedIn. And all of that's in the show notes as well. You can connect with me under my name, Wendi Ray. And I'm happy to connect with you and answer that question, or ask depending on where you're at in your transition or your consideration about getting out. And I also want to invite you to, if you haven't already, register for an upcoming event that I have, where I will teach you how to communicate your military experience to civilian employers. And this is going to be on August 28th. That is a Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you'll learn the techniques that I've used, and also teach my client on how to communicate your military experience. All right. I look forward to seeing you there. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.